Hello everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Feature Friday. My name is Matt, I'm the training manager here at Beacon Software, and today we're going to be looking at QuickBooks. All right, so we get a lot of questions on, how do we transfer things to QuickBooks? Is it something we want to do? So we're going to look at all that today. Now Beacon does offer full accounts receivables through the software, so you could do all your receivables through that, but customers like to do things through QuickBooks as well, so we give customers both options, and we're going to explore that a little bit today. So today we'll basically look at setup, how to set up your settings side of everything, where we need to match our services and our accounts up. We'll look at actually doing a transfer to QuickBooks. We're going to do a QuickBooks Desktop transfer, but we could also transfer to online. I'm going to show you how that works today too. So before we begin, I do want to go through a couple things here. Basically, when we do the transfer, it is a one-way transfer, meaning it will only transfer to QuickBooks. If you need to update anything after it's transferred, you do need to make sure you update it in both systems. Once it transfers, like I said, that's it. So that's the end of the conversation between our two programs. So for your reports to match in Dispatch Anywhere and QuickBooks, you got to make sure you update it in both places. So we get that out of the way right away. And basically, let's go ahead and jump straight in, and we will look at the setup side first. All right, so here's my desktop here. So I'm going to load into our settings here. All right, so we'll bring this up. Now, with this, you do have to log in with your company administrator login for this. All right, so let me log into mine. All right, we'll start with the company tab up here. All right. And we're going to go over to QuickBooks right here. All right, so you'll have two options in here. Yours is going to be set to none. If you turn on desktop, you will have the option to download the QuickBooks exporter. It will look like this on your desktop. Right. If you choose online, you're going to have to link your QuickBooks Online account. So if I click on that, going to load our website. Now, my subscription for online is already expired, but at this point you would put in your username and password, and then you would connect it. I'm going to hit no thanks. I'm going to get the red X here. You should get a green check mark, and then if you want, you can close this, or after 10 seconds this will close itself. But that's the step for linking your QuickBooks Online. And it says right here that you need to refresh it every year. It does need to refresh a token every year, so if you're having trouble with any transfers, you might need to just come back in here and reset it again. Also, if you change any passwords, you might have to reset it in here as well. All right, so that's the initial side of it, at least just turning it on for your account. All right. Step 2 is going to be to go to Services. So in the Services section here, if I click on any one of my services, after I've turned on QuickBooks, I'm going to have a new field here, QuickBooks item name. Right? The description is what you call it in Dispatch Anywhere. This can be whatever you want it to be. Your QuickBooks item name is going to be what you call it in QuickBooks. All right, so let's look at both and where this is matching up. So we'll bring up desktop first. All right. If I go to my list and my item list, this is what it's looking for. All right, one of these items. So I have towing here, this item name. All right. This has to be spelled exactly the same, capitalization, spacing, all of that matters. It counts everything. So you do have to make sure it's exactly correct or it will fail. So we're going to see how one fails here because it's incorrectly, the A in admin fee is lowercase. And I'm going to show you how that fails. But it will tell us what's wrong with it. So it's usually easy to troubleshoot if things aren't transferring. But again, case, spacing, all that matters when you're matching up your services with your settings. All right. And then we have a couple other ones. I think Dollies are matched up with Dolly. So I called it Dollies in Dispatch Anywhere, but I just call it Dolly in QuickBooks. So again, just match it up. So that's the first step of setting this up. Next is going to be our accounts. So I have a couple of accounts in here. So I use Matt's Racing here. All right. So I call it Matt's Racing in Dispatch Anywhere. Again, this can be whatever you want it to be. In QuickBooks, I have the account name as Matt's Racing Supply. Now this matches up with your customer. All right, so let's look at desktop again. So in my customer list over here, or my accounts, here's Matt's Racing Supplies. Now, again, you got to be careful with this. Spacing, capitalization, all of that stuff matters with these accounts. And let's click on this one. Let's go and open it up. right? I'm looking at the customer name here, Matt's Racing Supply. Let's move these side by side if we can, right here, all right? I have a company name called Matt's Racing, which happens to match that. That's not what it's looking for, though. You got to make sure that your customer name is the one that's correct when you're matching this up with the QuickBooks account name, all right? With online, let's look at that real quick. Let's look at our customers. Same idea. I have a company name and a display name. In QuickBooks Online, we're matching it up to the company name up here at the top. So just make sure those match. And our products and services, same idea. Let's pick this one. The name here, this is what we're matching up with the QuickBooks item name in settings. So again, spacing, capitalization, just make sure all that stuff matches. If it doesn't, it will tell us. Again, troubleshooting should be pretty easy if it's not transferring, but try to match it up the first time. But again, if it doesn't match, troubleshooting's pretty straightforward on it. All right. So that's the setup side of it. Basically turning on QuickBooks for online or desktop, matching up our accounts, matching up our services, and then basically doing the transfer. Now, let's go to our Dispatch Anywhere. Okay. So in your Dispatch Anywhere, to transfer for QuickBooks Online, we simply go to our Accounting tab here. We have the option to send to QuickBooks Online, right? We set a date range, and then we go ahead and send it. Now, if I hit Export right now, there's going to say no invoices found. I haven't posted anything yet. And then I don't have my QuickBooks Online set up. I have my desktop set up, which I'm going to show you here today. But normally just set the date range and send it over. Again, once it transfers, that's it. It will transfer once and once only. So if there are any mistakes or any changes, just make sure you're updating it in both systems. All right. Now, I have a couple jobs here that I created today that I need to post. This is a step that needs to be done. If the call's not posted or the invoice hasn't been created for it, we will not transfer it over to QuickBooks. The logic behind that is we want to make sure that call is completely correct before you actually send it over. All right. So I have a couple calls here. Some of these are the same. And then my last one, I have this admin fee on it. All right. So I'm going to assume these are all correct. I don't have to correct anything. And I'm going to save those invoices or create those invoices. Now, if you have questions on how to do this step, check out one of our videos a few weeks ago. We did it on creating invoicing and posting of the job. This will explain exactly what we're doing in this step. All right. So our invoices are created. We're ready to go ahead and transfer this over. Again, if it was QuickBooks Online, I just click this, set my date range, and I'm good to go. All right. I'm going to do the desktop version of it, though, because there are a couple things you need to know if you're using QuickBooks Desktop versus online. All right, so let's close some of this stuff on my desktop. So with QuickBooks Desktop, you're going to run the exporter and QuickBooks. Both of these need to be ran as an administrator, so that's simply right-clicking on the icon and run as administrator. Right. I'm going to hit yes here. If you don't run those as an administrator, it will not work. So both of those have to be run at an elevated security level. Same thing with QuickBooks. QuickBooks has already been opened that way, so we're good there. The only thing you need to know about QuickBooks is if you are a multi-user company with QuickBooks, either you need to change QuickBooks to single user mode. That's simply going to File. Mine's in single right now, but yours would say switch to single user mode. So you could do that. Or as long as everybody's logged out and you're in multi-user mode and you're the only one, it will transfer. But with transferring to QuickBooks, it's either single user mode or in a multi-mode setting, everybody has to be logged out. All right, so those are the two things. And then also, like I said, running it as an administrator has to be done. All right. So I'm going to minimize this. So we're going to use our login here. And we're going to hit export. All right. And what this is going to do is going to log in with your user. It found our 3 invoices that I had, and that's going to send these over to QuickBooks. Now, if there was any errors or any problems, this will catch it at this point, and it will tell you which invoice has a problem, and it will tell you there's either a problem with your service, meaning the service name doesn't match up, or there's a problem with your account, and your account doesn't match up. All right. So if we go to our accounts, Matt's Racing, I transferred one this morning, but here's our 3 invoices that I had in the system. All right. I'm going to bring this up. Now, when we transfer this, we don't transfer everything that we have in Dispatch Anywhere. We basically make a more or less a simple invoice in QuickBooks. So it's going to match up with the right account, so that's your bill to, the PO number if you had one, the services, the pricing, and then down here we will put the call number and the VIN number if you had those attached to the call. So anything else that you may have in here, you can add to it if you need to, but things like the addresses, the full car information, things like that, those are not going to transfer. If you're a company that charges taxes as well, you do need to make sure that your taxes are set up correctly in QuickBooks. We do not transfer the tax from Dispatch Anywhere. They should match as long as your taxes are set up correctly in here, but we don't want to double up the tax because some people have it set up differently. So if you are charging tax on items, please make sure that that is set up correctly in your QuickBooks because, again, we will not transfer it from Dispatch Anywhere. Right? And that's all there really is to the transfer. So again, make sure you run it as an administrator. Make sure you're either in single user mode, or if you're in a multi-user mode, make sure that everybody's logged out. Put your username and password into the exporter and hit OK, and it will transfer it as long as those calls have been posted or the invoice is created for it. So really not too bad. It really comes back to the setup side of everything, making sure your setup is done correctly. But with anything, if you're having any trouble with it, please give us a call, send in a support ticket, and one of our team members would be happy to help you out. So today we looked at QuickBooks, how to set it up, how to turn it on for your account, and then we showed you some transfers and what they'll look like in the QuickBooks environment, whether it's desktop or online. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, give us a call. And then every Friday, tune in for another feature on different products that we offer. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Take care, everybody.